Seconds here.
Okay, it says we're streaming again. Let's see if it's actually working.
You're back, Art.
We are back.
We are.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see it here, but...
Yep. Yeah, it'll take a couple seconds for you to see it.
Okay, can I assume we're back?
Okay, let me see here.
Poof. And I'm gone from the picture. It's like magic.
Let's see here. Well, it says we are.
Top chat was only 11.
Huh?
Top chat is 11 people, that's it.
Okay, hold on. Let me refresh that. Okay, we should be live.
How do we know?
I'm checking right now. Okay, we are live.
Okay,
We're back.
it says we're back. You know, we've been spending a lot of money trying to do this and do it properly. And out here in the shop, we actually have a special router and whatever it takes. I think it's to the time that we call up Time Warner and have them come out here and find out what we have to do directly through them instead of through a router. At any rate, I mentioned the old Dominion Broom Company to you. I appreciate all of you who stuck around. We're not going to give up on this. We worked really, really, really hard on this today. We have two terrific guests. One is Howard Zane, and the other one is Nick Mazzani from ITLA. And we are going to try, we're actually going to skip something that we had planned, okay? Oh, by the way, one other thing before we even do this. We were talking about Woodland Scenics. We have in stock the telephone poles in HO scale that have the wire between them. They're pre-spaced for 11 inches, so you know there's only 4 poles, but that's 44 inches. And even Woodland Scenics doesn't have them. They're $24.95, less 20%. So if you're interested in getting that product, you can get it also through our website. I have to keep checking to see if we're on because I just don't know.
We are.
So if you have something to say, I'd like to see more comments because I have my iPhone right here and I can kind of look at some.
Everyone is filtering back in.
Nan, my wife, said we had bad internet and they were trying to get in. The system is frozen. I lost the show. I'm sorry, guys. Blame the heat. You could do that. It's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing Nick. That's Jim Armour. Jim, just stick around. We're not giving up. Hopefully this won't happen again tonight, but you never know. At any rate, our first guest is going to be Howard Zane. Howard owns the Piedmont division. He lives down in Maryland. He used to run the Tonium show, the incredible train show, for years and years. I first met him when I was down there and I was selling t-shirts, just to give you an idea. Before Bar Mills, I was just doing something in the hobby to help support the hobby. And right now, I think we're going to try to call Howard up. Now, Howard is new at Skype and hopefully he has all the rules and he knows what's going on. And what I have to do actually is put on a pair of headphones so I can hear him so we don't have feedback. So Lenny,
We're going to give Howie a call right now. Let's get him up on the ring.
And anyhow, we're still here, and if we go down again, we'll come back up again. So as long as you guys grab a cold one, sit back. There's so much to talk about between new products, Jack has a terrific clinic tonight, by the way. And it's pre-recorded, but he's here to answer questions for you. We're trying different formats. We also had a videotape tour. A videotape, I don't know if that's even applicable anymore, of the SN2 layout in the Bar Mills station. And that's all set to go. So if we have time, we'll do that. But if Time Warner keeps screwing us around, who's to say we're going to have the time to actually show all of those things? I'll tell you one thing now. Lenny, if you can you get me on a camera?
I can.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to put you on a camera right here, and I'm going to hold this up a little closer like this. Some folks have asked about this, and do we have a picture of this up there that you can flash up on the screen?
Sure. Let me see here. Let's see.
This is a building we're coming out with, not this month, but next month in HO scale. And you're the first ones to see it. It's not announced. It's not on the website. We have, excuse me.
It is on the, it's up, it's live now.
It's live now. What's live now?
That right there.
This here, okay.
Yep.
Do you have the photo up on screen?
I do. This
is called Lenny's Truck Service, and you can see what it is. It's a brick building on one side, board and batten on the other side, and it's a real just good urban building. Now, this has not been themed out with any kind of figures of vehicles or anything. You can see it in the photo there, but this is a prototype of something we will be releasing in HO scale. This is June, probably sometime July. It may be the only July release for us because it is the middle of the summer and things do slow down a bit, and we have a lot of catching up to do on the regular kits.
All right, I've got Howard Zane on the line. Let's bring him into our feed here.
We're going to sit tight waiting for Howard Zane.
No, it's going to take 2 seconds. I just got to bring him in. Let's see here. Just got to do a little bit of adjusting. We're looking at his hat right now. Came in pretty big. And here we've got Howie. You want to say hi?
Hey, Howard, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, well, I hear you fine.
I don't hear anything.
Let's see here.
Give us a second, guys. Sometimes Skype is a little weird.
Can you hear him?
No, I do not.
I hear you guys.
Howard, can you hear Art?
I hear you.
Not having too much luck?
Hold on.
This is one of those nights. It's not terrible. We're excited about what we're doing, but it is warm, and we've had internet problems. And Howard is new at this, which doesn't help. It's always good to have guys that spend more time online than guys like I tend to.
Okay. Howard, can you say hi?
Yes. Howdy, guys. Can you hear me now?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. I can sure hear you loud and clear.
We're going to keep... Can they hear me online right now?
You should have him now.
I keep waiting to hear him. Howard, are you there yet, sir?
I'm still here.
I got nothing.
I hear you guys perfectly.
1, 2, 3. Howard, are you there, buddy?
I'm here. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. How's that?
We're here.
Oh, shit.
Let's see. Call.
Hold on.
I've got $1.
We have a black screen right now on YouTube, right?
No.
Well, I have a black screen. I'm not showing anything. Son of a bitch.
And then some.
We're still live.
Well, no.
Nan can hear Howard, but you can't hear him. Do you want to check your cord there? Unplug that and plug it back in?
Oh.
Okay, so you know what? We'll just do this real quick. Hold on.
You talk to him.
Hold on.
You know,
All right, let's do this. Okay.
it worked this afternoon. Can you hear me?
Okay, so you know what? We'll just do this real quick. Hold on. You talk to him. Hold on.
It worked this afternoon. Can you hear me?
Howard, can you hear us now?
Yes, I hear you. You can't hear me.
Okay,
You hear that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Test. I had no problem hearing you at all. You're fine.
Okay, you got
I'm
it?
just not hearing you.
Okay.
They can't hear me. They can't tell what I'm saying.
Okay, so we just... Okay, we got you. How are you tonight?
You got me?
Yep, sorry about those issues. We got you.
You got me now? You hear?
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, I always could.
Howard, how you doing, sir? We are together again after all these years, all those Timonium shows ago, and welcome up to Bar Mills on this 200-degree night, or so it feels. Anything from the mosquitoes to the humidity, it's all in one package right here on this live broadcast.
No, we just got cicadas. No mosquitoes.
Well, I don't know what a cicada is.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know. All right. At any rate, you know, when we first met, it was back in the Cow Palace, or maybe not the Cow Palace, but certainly at the Timonium Fairgrounds, with some really good places to eat around there, if I remember correctly. And I was making T-shirts and decals or whatever I could, and you had been well established. When did you first start with Timonium down there with the train shows, Howard?
Well, Timonium, we met back in the late 80s already, but the show began in 82 at the Ellicott City Armory, also in Maryland. So we outgrew it after the first show. Then we moved out to the Howard County Fairgrounds, and that was just terrible. So we got into Timonium in the spring of '85.
And you took three, what I always consider three buildings.
We used to use two buildings actually. The summer show and the Cow Palace was always in the building. I mean, it was 166,000 square feet. How big do you want it? We're not like the Northeast show, up in Massachusetts. I mean, it's just a regional show.
But it was an amazing show. I remember a lot of our customers. We were selling billboards when we first started. You should know you bought half of them. And we had guys coming in. A lot of guys from Kentucky, from areas that we don't really tend to see too much up here in the Northeast, even in Springfield, because the show was so centrally located.
Yeah. Well, the show is also 4 times a year, which we had to do to maintain our presence. Otherwise, they would have given our dates away probably to somebody else. So by having 4 shows, gave us a little bit of clout with the fairground people.
Well, let me ask you this, Howard. It's you're down there. One of the big attractions to your show, other than yours truly, because I remember you clearly being on the microphone, was your incredible HO scale layout, and I have not seen that in many years. How's that doing these days, and what's going on?
It's we had 2 additions already. It's up to around, the room size is around under 3,000 feet. Actually, it's 2,850 to be exact. But the railroad itself is maybe 70% of that, or maybe 2,000, 1,900 square feet. It's doing fine. I mean, I got some electrical problems. My electrical geniuses have either moved or died, so I got to find new electrical people. Because I'm not exactly, I'm in the hobby for the art. I don't know much about electronics. I mean, I can do it, but it's going to be messed up.
Well,
so I have to find.
I was going to say, let me ask you this: when you have that much track, I have track. I have some railroads, but the thing of it is, I always have the question about what do you do to clean the track, even after all of these years. It seems like it's fluctuating.
That's easy. Artie, that's so simple. All we did was run trains. That would keep the track clean, just like the real railroads. If you go out and look at a rail line and there's rust on top of the rails, I mean, obviously it's not being used. It's shiny. There's cars going by, locomotives. It's the same with a model railroad. When I ran trains quite a bit, I used to have visitors quite a bit in open houses, and we'd run trains all the time and never had a problem.
Well, I find that myself when my grandson is now more into it than I am as far as that end of it goes. Of course, bar mills has swallowed up my time, and I'm kind of busy being a structure hound these days. And speaking of structure hounds, I don't think there's a more prolific scratch builder than you.
Oh yeah, there are. I'm just a hack. I love doing it, and that's why I do it. But, there's some guys out there that were painters and sculptors that work in museums all over the world, for heaven's sakes. There's somebody. It's a fine art. That's what drove me into the hobby, was the art of it, not the electronics or the operation. I do love trains. My inspiration was my father, who had a gigantic layout, and I had 2 uncles that ran steam, and I used to ride with them fairly often, actually.
Well, how do you find the hobby? Is it leaning in any different direction than you would say maybe it was leaning in 2000, 21 years ago?
Oh yeah, it's changing. It's more towards high tech. They're diesel folks, and people model what they see and what they can relate to. Steam now is a thing of the past. I mean, there are a few old dinosaurs like me that prefer to model steam, or the era. My era is late 40s, early 50s. That's when I grew up. That's what I remember the best. Actually, I grew up in the 30s. That's all right. We don't tell too many people that I am an antique.
Well, let me ask you this: when I've been over to your home more than once, and I've seen you playing banjo with your band over there, and Paul Maynard was over there, and a bunch of people that all got together there, And the thing of it is, you were a prolific, ultra prolific brass collector. Do you see any practical difference between the performance of any brass and the more recent non-brass models in the last 20 years or so?
Yes, the new models coming out of Korea are just fabulous, but the inherent quality is nowhere near the old world Japanese stuff like Fuji and Takayama, and that goes on and on. All that stuff was wonderful. It wasn't as detailed in the old days, but they were built like Swiss watches or built like tanks. They'll run for a lifetime. The new Korean stuff is beautiful. It has more detail, and it does run. They do run very well. So it's kind of it's they're both the new models are great, Artie. That's all I can say. There's only one Korean builder right now. That's Blue Rim. That's any knowledge or any what do you call it? Making any noise.
Well, let me ask you this, Howard. With the operating system, if I remember right, you were running North Coast Engineering. Maybe I'm mistaken.
No, you're right. I started with a dual cab control, and that was fine. And then I got talked to the Dynatrol, and I think the word Dyna comes from dinosaur. But that's I was able to do that myself. I could figure it out because it was analog. Then I got talked to the Digitrax, and I tried that for about 5 years. It never failed. What failed was me. It hated me. I had no respect for me. It sort of like reminds me of the time I was on a horse and I said giddy up and the horse threw me. Like who is this schmuck on my back? And Digitrax treated me the same way. So then I went to NCE, which I could understand, and that's what I have now. But the Digitrax system is wonderful. They're both wonderful. I have no real problems. As I said, the only problems were me. I'm not a high-tech person. When I was in college, Nerd 101 was not available as a course.
Well,
I don't mean to impugn computer people. Like there was no computers, and I had no background.
well, let me ask you.
And
You've
I was
been
too
doing
busy.
this for such a long time. I'm sorry to step on you, but if you could rewind anything, I cannot believe you would do anything differently. But I could be wrong. Anything?
Yes, oh, of course. I'd build the whole thing over. It's it's everything in that layout from one time or another has been changed. I'm never satisfied. Sandy and I went down and rode the narrow gauge in Colorado and Arizona about 10 years ago, and I was so turned on that I was ready to rip everything out, just keep the bench work and convert to ON3, not 30, but actually ON36. And the only reason I didn't do that because I would have needed a 10-foot ceiling to get to the mountains. My ceiling is only 7 feet. So, but yeah, I was very turned on with that because I saw it, and I lived it, and it was very exciting. Plus, most of the stuff would have to be scratch built, which is what I love doing.
Well, let me ask you now. I have to wind this up, but as far as the future of the hobby goes, I mean, I honestly see a lot going on. They always say the golden age of model railroading was, when guys Lynn Westcott and Gordy Odegaard and all those guys back when, Earl Smallshaw certainly, but I'm not so sure that we're not actually maybe a smaller hobby, but I don't imagine we could get too much more golden than what we have today.
Well, the styles have changed, the techniques have changed. It's gotten more sophisticated, and the only thing I see that's different, I see when I look on YouTube, there are some really, really beautiful layouts being filmed and posted. What I don't see is people building stuff. I see ready-to-run structures. I see all the cars are plastic and the locomotives are plastic or die-cast. At my age, or my day, we had to build everything. Whether it was a kit, there was nothing ready to run as far as structures. You couldn't buy anything like that. I belonged to a club once where everything had to be handmade except for locomotives. And that part's gone. It was an old adage, Artie, when people traveled, and that was getting there is half the fun. I see model railroading the same way. Getting there should be half the fun. Building should be the half the fun. But it's not. But it's okay. People are in the hobby. I'm not going to impugn anybody like that. If they're having a good time, that's fine. But the layouts being built now are quite nice.
Yeah, I've seen because of YouTube and social media, I've noticed a little bit more larger home-based layouts than I used to. For a while there, we had a glut of modular this and modular that, but today the guys seem to be taking a little bit more of an aggressive and creative approach to the hobby. I think, anyhow.
Probably so. As I said, I see some beautiful work. I mean, as far as structures, there's a couple of guys that list their structures on Facebook and on YouTube that are offering them for sale, which is what I used to do. And their work is fabulous. I mean, I can't build that way. I mean, these are new guys. They're millennials. I mean, I'm a dinosaur, just sort of antique. But they have laser cutters and whatever. Some people doing computer printing on their models. And I don't want to do that. The only thing when I build, I use a number 11 blade, a straight edge, Walther's glue, and some sandpaper. That's about it.
You know, I'm from the same school. That's how I started. I had to do it out of the situation that I simply didn't have any funds to do anything else. But I tell you, you cut your teeth on that, you can handle the other stuff pretty reasonably.
Well, it was fun. It was art. I mean, I quit my major profession, which was aviation, back in '77 because my last flying job, I saw a harbinger of things to come, which was, high tech. You know, I was no longer flying the airplane. I was monitoring the computer that was flying the airplane. And that was not fun. And so I quit. And I started an industrial design firm that specialized in building sales centers, designing and building for developers, including sign work. But after 10 years, things became modernized. Everybody was going to computer art, and the signs were no longer. We did sandblasted, hand carved signs, just beautiful stuff. We won awards, but I could not get into these banners, this high tech stuff like signs by. Well, I don't want to mention any names, but they're all over the place. These things that franchises you can buy for sign companies, and that wasn't me. So I sold the company. I just didn't want to modernize. The same thing. I would not get into. If I was, that's why I never want really professional with this because I don't want to buy a laser. I don't want to do computer art or computer modeling. So I'm just very happy doing what I'm doing. I see the art in that for myself.
Well, you know, I'm sitting in the bar mill shop, which is a wood shop, and I do have to close this out. But you know, I look at Woodcraft magazine, Woodsmith, other things like that, and to tell you the truth, everybody wants to buy a CNC or some kind of a computerized router, and frankly, I'm out there buying stuff so I can hand cut dovetail. So we're pretty close with that basic primary instinct of doing something on our own. Howard, I gotta let you go, but we've let this go run a little long. We've had some computer problems tonight. Not so much computer problems, but internet problems, and hopefully we have a lot of guys right here right now. I cannot tell. At any rate, our next guest is going to be Dick Mazzani. Not Dick, I said Dick, Nick Mazzani from ITLA. And Howard, if you know them, they do some incredible brick buildings. And I'm going to ask him what the hell ITLA means. So that's the next step. Howard, have a great night. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Art. I look forward to seeing it.
Okay, am I on right now?
You are.
Okay.
We're going to give Nick a call here real quick.
Right. Well, Jack went out. He took a break because it is really sweating hot in here. We've spoken about some new products, about Woodland Scenics, about new things coming out. You might be able to hear the sound in the back of the connection with Nick Mazzani from ITLA. And we're looking forward to see. I've only met Nick once, but he seemed like a good guy. And he's Canadian, which the rules are you have to be a good guy, otherwise you can't be a Canadian. Let me put these back in. Hey Nick, you there, buddy? All right. How's hopefully you're a little cooler than we are. We are having a wet, sweltery, internet tossing night where we're having trouble with the internet of all things. Nothing new there. Well, you know, we're out in the workshop here, and you know, we had run into each other at a train show a while ago or a model building show. And while we didn't spend much time, I did catch you and I guess your wife and your father. And I don't tend to dote around other manufacturers. It's just not what I do. But I know when there's other guys out there trying to do the right thing for the hobby. And I was impressed enough that it just hit me that you were as much about the hobby as about anything else, as opposed to being maybe more of a corporate profit-making entity that, by the way, this is what they sell. Anyhow, how long have you been in the business?
Well, that's thanks again, Artie. We've been in the business since 2012. So we picked this company up from original owners back in 2012. Expo as well. That was our version of the company and what it is today, ITLA Scale Models.
Now, I'm always joking about, we're going to find out what the hell ITLA stands for. I've looked. I don't see it. What is it?
Well, that's good because old stuff. But anyway, yeah, that stands for Imagine That Laser Art. And that was the name of the original company. It was in operation from 2008. And my wife Renee and I purchased it in 2012 and rebranded it as ITLA Scale Models.
Well, let me ask you, who owned that company back then? I'd be curious if I ever ran into him.
There was a gentleman, a friend of a friend actually, down in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada here. And he had owned the company. Name is Mark Williams, actually. Mark and Laura Williams, his wife, owned the company at the time.
Well, you've ran with it. I know I know more than a little bit about the business of manufacturing kits, but I've asked you to send a few pictures because we had spoken to Brett Gallant from Sarah West, and I kind of pegged him and said, you know, he's been around longer than we have, and we've been around since 2000. I said, what are your favorite kits and why? And we had a conversation just the other day, and I asked you to send some photos, things that you particularly wanted to key in on, talk about, discuss. And I have actually prints. I don't know if you can see this, but I have prints in front of me with these things. And there are 3 of them. And why don't you take them? I have to use these for reference, but why don't you take them in the order that they pop up on the screen? I'm going to have Lenny pop up one of them.
The first one we have is the tool and die.
Tool and die. I don't know which is that. Is that
Oh, the Olympia.
which one is that?
That's the
Right
Olympia.
there.
Yeah,
Which one's-
thanks, guys.
Yep.
Is that the O-scale kit that shows 3 models in the one image?
Oh yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, we have
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So that's our O-scale Olympia tool and die. And if you were at the fine scale show or at Springfield last, you'd have seen this model on display. Very, very, very proud of this model. Again, at ITLA we manufacture masonry, laser cut, laser engraved masonry in the wood. And we could go on and talk about that all night probably. But this kit represents for us a real neat level of detail, especially in O scale. And Art, you'll know that when you expand from HO into O, you have to add so much more detail into these kits to make them look believable and plausible. This is a beautiful, beautiful kit. We're very, very proud of it. What we're showing there in the image as well, not only the amount of detail that's on that kit, but you can see some of the laser engraving, the spalling brick areas and whatnot. And also the important fact that this is a configurable kit. So the image up in the forward, the building, full-sided building you see in the front is basically the standard layout, if you will, and the other versions can be built from that same kit. All the components are included in the kit to allow you to build a fully walled structure, a flat or a shallow relief, or anything in between.
So basically, we're talking modular here, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And the first time I was turned on to modular was actually with design preservation models, and they had a modular system, and I loved it for about 2 buildings because it got very repetitious. They didn't give you a lot of flexibility. We came up with something called a 1 kit, which was a modular kit based on total creativity, where we had no windows or walls or anything. You had to cut them out. They were etched on the back sides of the wall, so this way you had some placement and you had windows and walls. Windows and doors to put in there. And
Right.
you've taken it in a different step because, although DPM was brick, it was plastic, and you've taken it where, well, number one, you're an O scale, which is on this building anyhow,
Yes.
which was unusual because there's not too big of a market in O scale. We do well with it, and I hope you do. But a lot of people do ignore the minority scales.
Yes, true, very true, and it was a bit of a stretch. I'll give you, I will agree with you there. But honestly, it was like a personal challenge too, Art, in the sense that we wanted to see what we could create in that size and that space. And I'll tell you, it's when you see the model in person, it's 29 inches long when it's stretched out. It's massive, and it's a beautiful, beautiful kit. Modeling in wood, as you know, is I believe so much more rewarding than modeling in plastic. And the modularity of what we brought into this particular line of kits gives the modeler, more opportunity to do so much with these kits. You and I would build it 2 different ways, and that's the beauty of it. It's not the recognizable DPM kit that you'd see on everybody's layout.
Lenny, what's the next one you want to put up on the screen for
The
me?
next one here, let's see here. Next is the walls.
The walls.
Okay.
Is that what that is? The big full page one? It says,
Yep. It's
imagine that?
Nope.
It doesn't say that, but
Nope.
now I know.
Yeah. So if you're looking at those are one of our newer products. I grew up in Windsor, Ontario, and across the river from Detroit, Michigan, and I worked in the auto industry all my life. So that type of architecture is something I'm very familiar with and saw almost every day of my life down there. And I love that old, gritty, you know, look. And I wanted to recreate that using this time laser cut wood and again modularity. Now you're going to say, well, you know, DPM did it and everybody else does it in plastic. That's great. But again, understanding the fidelity that you can create in laser cut wood and bringing it to this type of architecture, I think appeals, and I know it appeals to a lot of people because we do decently with this product line. The neat thing and the innovation in these particular kits, every one of those being an individual kit, by the way, and every one of those wall sections, is that the components are basically plug and play. So the brick panels and the windows can be interchanged. So you could move a brick panel up, you can move a window down, you can cut the wall frames and stack them. The image shows a 6-story structure, and that's actually stacked. That's a 4-story standard with a 2-story additional cutoff stitched on top. So you can build and mix and match all these components all day long. And that particular example you see is actually on my layout now. And I built that to hide kind of a funny transition between the backdrop and a wall. So very, very versatile product and a lot of fun to build.
You know, it reminds me a little bit when I was a kid. There was a game, a little handheld game made of plastic, maybe 1.5 inches square, 2 inches square, and there were tiles, and there were 9 tiles or 12 tiles. There was always one tile missing, typically in a corner, and the tiles would have all kinds of squiggles and lines on them. And the idea was to rearrange them until you finally made a picture.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, you know, was something I don't know if kids even know what that is anymore. But I can almost see the next ITLA kit coming out. You have this thing and just move around the tiles, and if it looks really good, stick it on the back of the layout. Because you're close, you're there. You know, it's it's that kind of flexibility, that kind of thinking is something it's been a long time coming. Like I said, we did it back in the one kit was actually the very first kit we did, other than the billboards. We did the one kit before we ever even did a structure, and here again, that was a conceptual kit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the kit that builds nothing, we've always said, because it really builds what you want it to. It was kind of hard to market a kit that really doesn't build anything, but 21 years later, it's still with us. And what you're doing here is like an inside-out version of it. We were doing wood, you're doing brick, and the approach is different, but the creative level is very, very much as intense.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm looking at one other thing. I guess it's the last picture we have. Yep. The state machine parts.
This is the All-State.
All-State. I see state. Sure. Okay, there it is.
So So let's look at this one as an example of going backwards in size. So we started with O scale. We looked at the HO industrial wall modules, and now this is an N scale product. Actually, wow. This is one of our most recent products, and I'm very, very proud of this. And again, an opportunity to try to put something into that scale that was of a different caliber. At least I hope it is, and I believe it is personally. But you know, I wanted to try to bring a fine scale masonry kit into the N scale market, and a lot of the stretch in challenge behind this was trying to make those parts as small as possible, make them as small and N scale fidelity as possible. So if you look at that photograph closely, you're going to see those window mullions they're all laser cut. You'll see fans in the windows. You'll see grills in front of those fans in the windows. The duct work on the roof. You know, the little water tank, things like that. Really, really challenged ourselves to drive our laser systems down.
And what
really, really proud of how that turned out.
Well, folks don't understand that it takes as long to make that building as an O scale building. O scale is just more. Yeah. O scale is just more MDF. Because the bricks are as intense, and as a matter of fact, N-scale bricks are really not N-scale. If they were, you'd never see them. You'd have to be reading Braille to figure out that they were there. But these look very good. You highlighted them properly to bring up their textures. You know how to build a model, and I don't know if you know, but I'm an N-scaler, even though I'm hesitant to say it, because when people think bar mills, they think high-end kits, and they don't necessarily relate to that other than maybe HO and sometimes O scale. But my own layout is 11 by 26 or so. And this is the kind of thing that I wish I had in 1990 when I started building it, because I used to have to chop up a lot of stuff and make resin castings and copy a lot of walls so as I could get by, because it takes a lot of buildings to fill up an N-scale layout.
Sure does. Yeah, good stuff. That's also a configurable kit, Art. So that thing can be built in about 15 different footprints as well.
Well, let me ask you, what do you see? We're going to get ready to close out on you here, because it's been a hectic night. We've only been on an hour, and I think out of the hour we've probably been off 6 or 8 minutes.
Oh,
Well, it's nothing to do with us. Hopefully, you guys stay with us. My personal thing is I can look at it on my iPhone, and even my iPhone's not picking it up right. Although I understand we're going out fine right now. What do you see as the future of ITLA? I mean, you've been at this since, you say, what, 2012, which puts you at 9 years, right?
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so we're going to continue to forge forward, and I've got a number of additional industrial type designs on the board right now and in the works. A lot of larger structures I foresee ourselves doing. I'm going to stay with the configurability element as well, because I believe that offers so much more to the customer. And as you and I have spoken offline before, it's important that the customer feels and does receive a high value product, and that's what we want to deliver to them. And we want them to have a great purchase experience and great build experience, and that's really where ITLA is going to continue to grow and go. And that's our goal, is just to continue to put some unique, high quality craftsman kits out there in masonry style construction.
Well, answer your phone, support your customers. Don't hide when people have a question. Be out there, because that's what the hobby's
That's right.
about. If it's just
You
about
bet.
making money, you'll never get that rich. So if you're going to be in the hobby, at least do it for the hobby's sake, as
got
well
it.
as your own, but definitely for the hobby.
You got it, for sure.
Well, we're going
Thank
to
you
let you
very
go. We're going to let you go, Nick. I know it's Canada, and you probably have some snow to move tonight. You're probably out there.
No, I got a hockey game to watch and a beer to open up, Artie.
You're watching the Bruins game up there?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah,
What's the score?
That's an American team, even though it's probably all Canadians.
it is full of Canadians. Yeah, full of Canadians.
What's the score right now?
I don't. You know what? I've been away from the TV for about 45 minutes. I'm not sure now. Sorry.
I ruined it. Okay. Well, Nick, thanks for taking some time with Bar Mills here, and best of luck in your business. And we look forward to seeing a lot of really cool stuff. I'm sure it's coming our way.
Okay. Thanks very much, Art. Take care.
Bye bye now. Okay. Are we off and now are we on both at the same time? Okay, it's back to me. Here we go. Hey, we're back here. We have a great night. I didn't want to rush through tonight, because tonight we just worked so hard, and we're really excited between all this new stuff and the stuff from Woodland Scenics, and getting to speak to Nick Mazzani up there in ITLA, having a railroad god, really a legendary guy with Howard Zane right here with us. This has all been a lot. I mean, we've been lucky enough. As a matter of fact, I mentioned it before. If Darryl Huffman is listening, we have to get back together again for sure. That was the very first podcast, if that's what this is called. And we had some bumps tonight, but the first night, holy macaroni. Trust me, the first night was no fun. Lenny, do we have any questions, anything? Because we have to get into another segment.
Well, let me see. Everybody loves Nick. Wonderful guy, wonderful customer. And everybody loved Howard as well.
Great.
Let's see here. Let's see if we got some questions here.
I tell you what, while you're asking, Jack, would you want to sneak back here with me? Sure. Jack has been out on a break, and you're going to see his manly physique as it passes by the camera.
How about nobody's going to bed anytime soon, right?
Well, you know what? You can ask them that. If we can extend this a little bit to make up for time, or we can just call it, depending on what they like.
Well, how about we spend a couple minutes resetting, getting ready for the clinic, and we'll kind of give everybody a show of the wharf layout.
You know what? We have something called, and Jack and I, and Jim Mooney, and we got to get Jim's picture up there. You got a picture of Jim?
Yep, I've had him up here a couple of times.
You've had him up there? Okay, that's our man Jim. Jack, myself, Jim, Tom Staten out in upper state New York. Brian Curry passed away, but he a contributor. Martin Collard's a contributor. Mike Toddick is a contributor. And we all got together, and well, we didn't get together physically so much. Jack and I did. And we built a layout for the narrow gauge convention that was held here in Portland, Maine in 2007. And we had, I think, 600 visitors. And each visit took over an hour. I mean, we had everybody up here. Dave Ferry, Tony Custer, Bob Brown, everybody was here. It was amazing. We were very grateful. And we put together this little video. It's been around on our website, but Jack took some time to orate a little bit, and hopefully the mix is good. So if you can give us 5 minutes, if you have any questions, both Jack and myself are here to answer them. This is an SN2 layout. It's unique because at no place on the layout does land come out and touch the edge of the layout. You're on a boat, some kind of boat. When you're looking at the slab, you're always looking over water. So Lenny, you want to call that up?
Yep, we'll see you in a few minutes. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the SN2 layout here at Bar Mills. This is Wharf Street, and you're getting a kind of a visual that we're going to go right down the whole side of it. Remember now, this layout, all borders on the front on water. So what you would be standing normally would be in the water looking at the shore. So we go by their whale boat there, that's a true enactment, and then we have our whale oil. We'll go back to the 1920s, so we have whale oil that they would have brought in. The layout is about 18 inches deep. We have, I think, 28 or 38, something like that, structures on the layout. That is our this particular one that's Captain, I forget Captain something. That was done by Mike Tylick. Then we have the one of our prototype models here. This one was on Wiscasset, and it would have been their coal bin. And this was built by Tom Staten out in Syracuse, New York. Did a beautiful job on this. A lot of board by board, a lot of nut and bolt castings right on the water. The coal would be brought in and then distributed off the pier. This is the interface here with the pier and the water, where we have a couple of trucks and barrels, and just to show the commerce that we had right on the pier. We have our rock walls and rock castings all along the water, all different types. Our next little building coming up is Crabby's Clam Shack, which would have been a restaurant right on the small restaurant on the water, where the boats would bring it in and then they would sell it to people. You can see our seawall here, our stone seawall. Next one is a Shipwright, and this would be basically a blacksmith shop where we make all the steel pieces, the metal pieces for the ships, and he would repair boats. It's a full interior, all lit. A lot of time board by board building. And then this is our harbor light coming up, which is on where the inlet is, where the river meets the ocean. You get a kind of an idea of the backdrop here that we have in the layout. Some of these models are not quite HO, or some are HO to give us a forced perspective. If you notice, you're going to notice some of the buildings here have become Bar Mills models, but at the time that this was actually produced and made, they were not. They were all decided that people asked, how come that's not a model you make? How come that's not a model you make? So we decided to do some of the models. Our grist mill here on the water, and a small fishing shack. We have a ferry that comes in from the islands, landing here, done by a great model of Brian Curry that has just passed away, but it's kind of a memorial for him. And then our trains meet the water here. A small boatyard comes right down to the water. And a boatyard built by Tom Staten. Here is our train ferry, and it's now become one of our models. So we've gone basically from end to end, so that gives you an idea of the length of the model. There is a beautiful hotel here. And then you can see kind of the center of town would be right here with a small store and the hotel, and then Smitchen's, which had become a kit. Thank you.
We are back, and Jack and I, we worked on that together. If you have any questions about the SN2 layout, feel free to ask us. There's a lot on there, and that was almost totally scratch built.
There's, I think, 2 kits on that whole thing. That one of them was kit bashed so bad that you wouldn't know it,
Right.
and the other one was cut in half. So there was only about 2 kits. And if you notice that some of those buildings look familiar, well, when we built them, none of those kits were Bar Mills kits, and people kept hounding us to, can you come out with that kit? Can you come out with that kit? And then we said, okay, we'll come out with that kit. So they originally were not any kits on that layout.
And Nancy, in the meanwhile, in case you haven't noticed my new attire, apparently I'm sweating up too much out here. And, you know, I have such a great body. Anyhow, she decided to help me hide it a little bit more. We're going to slip into something else. Jack has something for us. Jack, why don't you tell everybody what's going on right now?
Our clinic tonight is going to be about coloring stone, or stone walls, or stone buildings. We do produce 3 of them in resin, and we've had questions about how do we paint them, how do we get them to look like real stone. So we're going to do, this one happens to be pre-recorded. If you have questions, we'll answer them at the end. So if you think of a question along during it, cue in and we'll answer them after the clinic is over. So when you're ready, Len, we can run the clinic.
Here we go.
We're going to take a delve into painting our resin castings, our block castings that we have for our water tower, our sand house, and our now tower at Cranberry Yard. So we're going to go through the process we use to paint these blocks and the way we do it. There are other ways to do it, but this is just the way that I do it. It makes it a little simpler and easier to do. And if I do it the same way each time, I'm going to be able to reproduce it each time I do it. So each of the buildings that I have in this series will kind of look the same, like they came from the same quarry and the same stones. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is how we prepare the rock work that we're going to work on. So the first one I'm going to look at is the one that we use for the water tank. I'm going to show you what we did with this, which is a little extra thing. If you look at the top of this, we have bored a hole all the way through, top to bottom. And then I've also bored a hole right above the door, big enough for one of the shepherd's crook if I want to put the LED lights and shepherd crooks in this on the building. So this would be with a shepherd's crook, and this would be my exit for my lights. So that's something extra you can do if you want to actually put the LED lights on these things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our resin casting, and I'm going to take a white paint, a flat white paint, could be a primer, could be just a flat white paint, and we're going to paint 2 good coats, the whole casting, top, bottom. We're going to basically prime it with the white. That gives me a base coat, and I can work from this base coat, and then we can go from there and do whatever we have to do. The next thing, I'm going to mix up some ink and alcohol, and I'll give you the formula so we can do this. It's very easy. This is 90% isopropyl alcohol. This is a 1 fluid ounce bottle, and it's usually the paint bottles. If you've got an extra one laying around, or a liquid cement bottle, they work great for measuring. And this is Higgins India Permanent Black Ink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this bottle. We're going to put there we go. We finished that up. Now I'm going to take my Higgins ink, and it has the little squeegee on it. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to do 12 drops. That gives us our mixture for our ink and alcohol, which is going to be a little darker than we normally have. Shake it up really good. That's what I have here. I have a dark one, which is the same as this, and one that's a little lighter, which is probably 8 drops of the ink. Very simple. You can make them right up. Our next thing I want to do is I want to highlight all these cracks. All right, I want to make sure that these cracks are highlighted. So what I'm going to do is take a number 6 paintbrush in my dark, and I'm going to dip it right in here, and I'm going to actually hit it to the crack, move it right along the crack, and I'm going to accent this crack. It's going to take more than one application, but what I'm trying to do is just fill up those cracks. If you can see it. If it gets on the stone, don't worry about it, but try to keep it in the cracks. You can see as we do this, it's accenting those stones. Each one of those stones is coming out really, really strong. All right, this probably will take twice around. Let it dry, put another coat on, go twice around. Very simple. Nothing hard about this. I'm just kind of moving it around, make sure it's going in the cracks. You get some on the face of the stone. All right, once you've got this all done, and this is just to start here. Once you got done, it's going to kind of look like this is the one from our sand house. But you can see here on this one that the lines are really, really dark. They look almost too dark. But in the end, they won't look this dark. So our next step is we're going to color our stones. And we were trying to figure out how to color it. So the way we color it is, this is burnt sienna. This is orange sage, I think it's called. And then we have red iron oxide. These are 3 colors that I use basically for my colors. Now I'm going to take a flat tip brush like that. And I'm going to bring my light alcohol back in. So I have it here. And what I'm going to do is this is my little palette that I can use so I don't get too much. I can put a little here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing random stones. And I'm going to really put it on. Don't worry if it slobbers over to the next brick. It's not a problem. We're not going to do all the bricks. We're going to just do random, some of them here and there. And then we're going to move on to the darker color. Look kind of funny now, but we'll work it in here. We'll go to the lighter color. It doesn't matter if you mix the powders in together, it's not going to matter. If you slobber some on the door, it doesn't matter there either. Try not to do the lentil across the top. We're going to leave that as a gray. So, that might be enough for the side. So what we've done is we put our things in. The colors are kind of brash. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some of this and we're going to wash it in. This is going to lighten up a little bit too. But what we're doing is we're washing some of the dark color stone into the cracks and a little bit onto the next one. And what we're doing is we're kind of evening out these colors very simply. This is not, you can see how little time it takes to do this. The hardest time is just darkening the lines between. So that's what you get with that. So that's your step here. You want to let that dry. If you need more, you want some of the lighter color of the stone to come out. Don't get too much. If you want to do your top cap stone in just this ink and alcohol, that's good too. Make sure your bottoms are done. And you want to let that dry. That takes a minute. In this weather right now, it takes a little longer because it's so hot. But it'll dry right up to a nice flat color. You'll get, these colors are all been softened. All right, we're going to take white, plain old stock white. This happens to be acrylic paint. No big deal. Cheapo stuff. art stores, big box stores, all those things. You can buy them 50 cents a bottle. Take a little bit, scrub 90% of it off on some kind of a palette, and we're going to highlight some of the tops of the stones. That's going to soften up even a little bit more. It's going to bring out all the little highlights. I'm going to get a little bit more here, scrub a little bit more off, and just highlight, 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 highlight. Don't go crazy, but just enough. If I had done this probably in the right order, I would have painted my door green, and I'll show you that on this side, and I would have done the same highlights, so you can see how we highlight the door here with a little bit of white, and then I'll go back over it with some ink and alcohol. So I would have done that the same thing here, probably at the same time to make it a little quicker. So the only thing that's really left to do to color your stone, as I said, this is pretty quick, is I'm going to go with a, this is a green, but they call it a yellow orca. It's dark green. Oh, this one's really, watch out, so I don't get that on your thing. I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to take a little bit of the green, not much, going to knock it off, and we're going to do it along the bottom edge. Get a little bit more of the green in there. I'm going to put a little bit there and here. And then the last step is we're going to go back to the dark brown, and we're going to do along the bottom. Just like this, just a little bit. Bring it up here. Looks like the dirt is splashed up. Bottom of your door. Bottom up your corners just a little bit. And that's basically all done. So this is not a long process. It's quite quick. So that's how I do my stone. If you get too much on your colors, as you're putting on your ink and alcohol, you can wash it down with a little plane of the alcohol and take some of the color off if you want, just by rubbing it. So that's an extra way to do it. So that's how we do it. And what you're going to end up with is, here's one. You can see this wall. If he gets in close, you can see all the details we had just done. You can see where we have the colors. We have the dirt along the bottom. But the stones, the darker the stones is accenting each stone. And that gives you all those individual stones. And that's how I like to do it. So that's a really good sign. On that one, we have a coal bin right there, and that's why we have it so black on that particular side. So that's what I've done today, and if you buy our kits, it's very simple. You come back to this video later on and take a look before you do it. As I said, if you pick a way to do it and you do it the same every time, it'll come out exactly the way you want it. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
New formats for the clinics. Jack, this is the first time we've done something on a video for this particular, this was done for tonight. Of course it'll be on the website, but to me, those close-up shots were not something we've been able to get live.
And you said I made mistakes, but I don't believe it.
And you will keep making mistakes.
Oh.
I'm going to look back at some comments here. If anyone has any questions to ask Jack, this is the one thing we can do here that some podcasts are not set up for.
You know what? I've got a question coming in from Todd Bren on YouTube. After you paint and weather, do you seal it with anything?
There's no real need to seal it. If you're using the new powders or any of the pastel stuff that's got the oil that's in it, most of that stuff stays on pretty well. I don't think you need to seal any of it. If you seal it with any of the sealers, they all have a shine to them. They still have, I don't care how good you think they are dull coat, they still have some kind of a shine. So I don't think you really need to.
But we're using pan pastels here and not regular chalk, so
Right.
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, if you're using any kind of the weathering powders, again, not chalks, but weathering powders, you'll find that they'll stick and stay, and you'll get a little bit on your fingers. Most time you don't get anything if you handle it. The one thing else I want to talk about this is, we did it on resin tonight, but you can do this on a plastic kit that is stone and do it exactly the same way. Paint it first white and go through it the same way. You're going to end up with the same results. So it doesn't just have to be on the resin.
And you know, Jack knows this, but nobody else kind of really does. Is Bar Mills, as well as being a distributor for Woodland Scenics, is now a distributor for Pan Pastels. Pan is behind on their shipping, so we are not offering anything right now. But we have a special selection that they offer that is the only thing that we're going to sell. It's the one that we prefer to use. It's the one I've been using for a while. I had to go to an art supply store, and it was a lucky find because they do offer a lot, but one in particular I really, really like. So they tell me it'll take 2-3 weeks to get the initial shipment out. And of course, just like Woodland Scenics, it's going to be 20% off, and you'll hear more about the pricing on that when the time comes. So here's your chance to actually, you don't have to shop around. This is an assortment of 10 shades, 10 colors, 10 hues. Lenny, do we have anything else? Well, I'll tell you what. I have Todd Bryan says you are alive. That was a bit ago. Then we had. I'm looking at this quickly. Hi from Ottawa. Love building not Rod Stewart's. I was the Stewart's rods. Great kit. That was Brad Strains. I want to get back and say that. Scott Ward, Chris Rotman. Just letting us know that we're back and they can hear Howard. Of course, that's old news now.
Gene Trumbull asks, he missed the first part of the show. Any word on the firehouse? Do you want to kind of refresh him on that?
Yeah, we could do that. You know, we had some a bouncy moment there. Do you want to throw up the screens again on this, Lenny? This is definitely worth.
Pull that up here.
This is definitely worth. Let's see which.
I got that.
Let's see
Actually,
here.
I think you want to go on this side with this over here.
Put the car where it should be.
Okay. Alright.
I have it up on the right side of the screen, so you're perfect right there.
Okay, well, the firehouse is actually going to be released and shipped before the end of the month. There's been a couple things. Number one, understand its HO scale is $74.95. We have is it a +5 deal?
Yes, this
And
one
we
is a +5.
We have a +5 deal from Bar Mills Direct that for $5 more, you can get a 1995 set. They call it Auto Scenes Woodland Scenics. Called Sparky and the Fire Chief, and you can see that here. As a matter of fact, we have two different photos up on the screen. Are they both up there?
I've got both of them up there.
One is a fire engine that we do make available, and one is the Sparky. But the Sparky is a +5. You only pay $5 for that. And this is on the website, so you can order it, but it won't be out till towards the end of June, but it will be out this month. It's been changed. Jim Mooney, put a picture of Jim waving up there or something. Our crack engineer, by the way, whose father was a fireman, went ahead and he took the initiative to design a hose tower for the side. And
Once we finish the kit, we put the hose tower on the side.
And yeah, well, after we got it done. Yeah. And the fact of it is, it did hold up things a bit. That and the combination of things being very busy for us. And it's kind of hard to fill every order we have on everything we make and then make some more stuff on top. There's just so much we can do. So that's what's going on with the HO scale. Smoky Hill. I almost forgot it. Smoky Hill Fire Company, you might say. If you buy the kit, you can get $5 more, and you can get the from us through Bar Mills Direct. By the way, if you've already purchased the kit from us, and you wouldn't have gotten it yet, we're still going to let you have even a better deal. If you've already purchased it, we're going to give you the Smoky Fire Chief with the little guy and the dog at no charge, just as a thanks for trusting us, and we're trusting you right back. Lenny, is there anything else?
Well, speaking of Bar Mills Direct, just a quick shout out. Steve Funston has checked in a couple times.
Mr. Oxen, you may have heard of it. Steve Funston down in Georgia. Georgia's, I'm not going to say on his mind, that would be poor. But he has a dog named Loco, who's a golden retriever, not unlike our Sam. And he is one of only 2 Bar Mills Direct dealers. And we use him as a dealer, as well as engine house services, because these guys are reputable. They answer their phones, they stand behind their product, and they do Bar Mills proud. So Steve, if you're out there, welcome to this. What are they? Steve McQueen, didn't they used to put him in The Great Escape in some kind of a thing? They lock him up and they make him sweat.
The box?
This is it.
The box.
This is it tonight at Bar
We're in
Mills.
the box.
And we're letting this run along because, you know, we kind of had some problems, and I think we're all kind of energized up here. Anybody else have any questions? This can be an open, you know, throw crap at the screen.
Well,
Artie and Jack.
Everybody's pretty excited about the Pan Pastels
Is that right?
announcement. Absolutely.
We have an initial, just so as you know, Lenny, we have 30 sets of them coming in initially. They're $60 a set retail, but we're not going to charge you that. So you can imagine just first time around. By the way, you almost said Frank. Was that?
Yes, Frank said something about he wants to come give you a great big hug. He's that excited.
Frank Bernard.
Yes.
You know,
Frank.
I wanted to mention Frank earlier. I forgot. He's one of our regular guys. Raul Perez out there. There's a lot of guys. A lot of people think this is a little boys club, but it's really not. We have thousands upon thousands of customers. Scotland checked in tonight. What else we have? I'm saving to get all. I don't know what that. I wish I could make brick buildings look that good. They're talking about, of course, ITLA, although they could be talking about bar mills as well. I'd like to think we do a pretty decent job. What do we have? Someone says extend. They want us to keep going. And that was Steve Muscom.
It's got to be a different time zone.
And Marxist says, can you buy a Bar Mills Builders Club hat? And you can't. These are special hats. We really can't do it.
Now, I think we may have skipped over this by accident there in the beginning. Did we talk about the new telephone poles from Woodland Scenics?
We breeze by them. We have Woodland Scenics has HO scale telephone poles, N scale telephone poles,
Pre-wired.
pre-wired, and Grandma's on the other end of the line, no matter where she is.
They are potty lines.
Did you watch the Twilight Zone? You ever see that? Anyhow, they're pre-wired, 11 inches between them. They have them, but not really, because they don't have any. They have them on their website. We actually have. I don't know how many I
I
got.
think it's 36 sets.
I think we may have gotten 36 packs. They go for $24.95, less 20%. And don't forget, if you're buying a regular Bar Mills kit, you add more stuff. There's never any additional shipping. And we, until the government catches, all of us in this, we really don't charge tax yet out of Maine. So I'm almost afraid to say, you watch tomorrow, I'll get a notice. At any rate, so you know what's going on. We do have those Woodland Scenics. And I got to tell you, Jack, we saw this, right? How good do those look, in all honesty?
What?
The Woodland Scenics telephone poles. What? Hey, Jack, how good do they look?
They look good. They look really good.
Well,
we haven't got. You can't take them out of the package, unfortunately, because the way they're packaged. But they look very nice.
Yeah, they're weathered. They're multicolored. They don't look like something that you'd get injection molded from Bachman or Lifelike or something.
No.
These are very, very definitely quality products. But you have to space them because they're being pre-wired. They're spaced at 11 inches between. Right. So you have 4 poles. So 4 times 11, you got better part of 4 feet there with just one kit. Okay.
Steve asks, anything up with the Springfield stations? Those are in stock, and that should be on the website for purchase.
Now that's true. Now Springfield Station's only available. Wait a minute. Springfield Station's available in
3 different versions: Springfield 1, Springfield 2, and then the combo pack.
Yeah.
And what scales?
That's in HO scale and O scale.
And O scale. I thought so. So yeah, we're in good shape on that.
Yep, they are in stock and on the shelf.
Okay. Anything else we got going on? I am going to look.
Nope.
Cool that you'll be selling pan pastels. Thank you, Mr. Wag of Wigwag. Anything up with Springfield Stations? You know what? A great clinic. This has been a kind of a weird night. I deeply apologize. We worked very, very hard. This has been a very labor-intensive session tonight. We're showing you, the new Lenny's. I keep forgetting. I want to call it garage. It's a truck service kit. This is scheduled. We're in June. This is scheduled for July, and HO, and it'll be reasonable. It's a really cool kit, brick and board and batten, and everything else. O'Doul's and O scale, Smoky Hill, the new N scale Jerry's, and of course the release of the Old Dominion Broom Company, formerly known on the Franklin and South Manchester as the Calendar Press. All of these things are in the works and will be ready to ship, or possibly even are ready to ship. Some of them are ready to go. So unless we have anything else, Lenny, it's been a hot night, but feeling good. Are we ready to pull the plug?
I think we're all set.
Voice Time Warning when you need them. Now we're ready to shut down.
Just to answer a quick question, Rusty. Honestly, it just depends. There's a lot of factors that go into it.
What's the question?
He's asking about how we cut our plywood.
With a laser.
Correct. Well, with a butter knife.
I
No,
also have a saw stop here, but depending on what you mean by plywood, you know.
No, it just depends. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Honestly, how humid it is outside. But you know, like you said, thickness is the key. But you know, really, it's multiple things that go into it. And on that note, thanks everybody for hanging out with us.
Well, thank you guys, appreciate it, and
Stay cool.
and stay tuned. That's for sure. So that's it for tonight. With a dry shirt and an empty bottle of water, we're set to go. Is that it, Lance?